There is power in a story, and we all have a story. Our stories, if told, can inspire, encourage, and motivate. Hi, I am Rhonda, and welcome to the Book of Lives. Hi everyone, welcome to the Book of Lives. Today we're going to be chatting with a social worker and humanitarian. Chadel, welcome. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Great to have you. Thank you for taking some time to chat with us about what it is you do and why you do it.
Thank you for having me. I am always very surprised when I'm asked to speak, but I'm quite excited to be here.
Good. So on the Book of Lives, we're all about stories, and stories have beginnings. Where does your journey to becoming a humanitarian, a social worker begin?
I am a young lady from a very small community in St. Lucia in the south, Labrie to be exact. And I wouldn't say that there was any specific defining moment for me. But I have always been a champion for the less fortunate. I have always been an advocate for the underdog, even as a small child. So I guess that's where it began. I was raised to champion the cause of those who cannot speak for themselves. I didn't know that I would do it as a career, but it has followed me into my professional life.
Nice. So you grew up in St. Lucia, you said, right?
Yes, I did.
Lovely, beautiful island. So recently you had an opportunity to work with Project Hope. Tell us about that. First of all, what is Project Hope? Tell us about that.
So for the last 3 years before I became a student, because I'm now a postgraduate student, I worked with an NGO. It's actually a faith-based organization in Trinidad and Tobago called Living Water Community. And the ministry that I worked with, they specifically work with migrants and refugees. And Project Hope is a project that was undertaken by this ministry in collaboration with UNICEF. And this project was designed to meet the needs of children on the move. So all children of migrant and refugee parents who were in Trinidad and Tobago, this project was designed to serve them. So pretty much that's it.
Good. What role did you play? It sounds like an interesting project, by the way. What role did you play?
Yes, so I was the early childhood development officer. I was there from the inception of the project. So I had the great fortune of building the project from the ground up and just determining how things would work, how the processes were established for the future. Specifically, my job entailed creating and implementing programs for parents of children 0 to 5 years old. So these were educational or stimulation programs, as well as health and programs that would get towards child protection.
So you work mainly with the Venezuelan refugees that were moving or traveling, from Venezuela to Trinidad, right?
Yes, that was the majority of the migrants and refugees in Trinidad and Tobago. So in terms of numbers, yes, predominantly Venezuelans, but Trinidad and Tobago actually has refugees from all over the world, really, including Europe, Syria, from as far as you can think of. Wow. There are refugees there in Trinidad and Tobago. So we worked with all refugees. And because we worked on a UNICEF project, because UNICEF is for all children, that is their tagline, we were also serving children from the host community, as we call it, from Trinidad and Tobago, as long as they were in the community and were in need of our interventions.
Okay. What causes someone, to pick themselves up and say, okay, I'm leaving everything that I know behind, my culture, my language. In some cases, for example, with the Venezuelans, they were leaving a Spanish-speaking country to travel to an English-speaking country. What, in your opinion, in your experience, what causes someone to do that?
Well, the literature on migration in general says that there are two sets of factors that would encourage someone to leave. So there are the push factors, the factors that are in your country of origin. So I'm I've been a migrant, not a refugee, but I've been a migrant.
Mhm.
These push factors may be that there is high unemployment in your country, there is economic instability, perhaps there is social unrest, war, that kind of thing. So these are the push factors, the factors that are in your country that are pushing you to leave. And there are also pull factors in the country that you're hoping to go towards, right? So for example, if there is a promise for upward mobility or a promise where you can better your education, these things are all pull factors. So for any migrant, these are the things that would push or pull them towards another country. For refugees and asylum seekers especially, there is a greater desperation. So the pull factors are multiplied as well as the pull factors.
When these individuals leave their home to travel to whatever country, what are some of the major issues they face?
There are many issues depending on the route that they're taking. So if they're going through illegal channels,
yeah.
If they're going through these channels, they're probably going through a smuggler. And so that is dangerous in and of itself. But also the types of routes that they take can be dangerous. So for example, a lot of Venezuelans go across the Gulf of Paria to Trinidad and Tobago. And that in and of itself is a dangerous journey.
How do they get to Trinidad? The Gulf, of course, is a body of water. So do they take boats?
So they take canoes.
Canoes, not boats. Okay, canoes.
Yes, and boats. And recently there have been increased incidences of large number of persons drowning on that journey from Venezuela to Trinidad and Tobago. So that is just one of the routes and one of the ill fates that can overtake someone making that journey. In addition, if persons do not have access to work, they're probably coming with very little finances. So when they get to Trinidad and Tobago, in this case, they have a very shaky foundation. They cannot access proper housing, they cannot access food. And if the country that they're going to is not sympathetic to the plight of asylum seekers and Venezuelans, it can be even more difficult for them. So Trinidad and Tobago did not have very many policies in the beginning that allowed migrants and refugees that did not come through the normal typical channels to access national services. And so that made the situation very difficult, which is why my organization was needed.
Yeah. How do you stay focused doing this type of job? I could just imagine the array of emotions that one feels looking at their fellow human beings suffering. How do you stay focused?
I think for different people, we use different things to stay focused. But I am a trained social worker, and one of the key themes in social work is that you have controlled emotional involvement. Yes. So you try to erect those professional boundaries that would allow you to work well without becoming overwhelmed by the situation, but we are human. And so outside of that, I think my faith keeps me focused.
Yes.
I feel called to assist persons, so it goes beyond just making a few bucks for me.
Yes, this is purpose now.
Yes, social work does not have great money remuneration. Yes. If that's what you're going after, then social work is not the career for you. Yes. So my faith keeps me grounded. And I think just being empathic, being able to identify with my fellow man and understand that this could be, say, Lucia at any point in time. Yeah. Venezuela is doing really, really well for quite a few years. Venezuela has oil.
Yes.
And so they have the potential to have a very stable economy. So I understand that this could be any one of our islands at any point in time. And this is me paying it forward.
Yes. Awesome.
God forbid in the event that my generations might need somewhere to go.
What lessons has this type of work taught you?
What have I learned? I think I've learned to respect the human, irrespective of how they behave, right? Because in as much as it sounds like lovely work, it can be difficult. We're interacting with persons with personalities and backgrounds and experiences that are very diverse. So some people may be very receptive to your assistance, and some people may not respond in the manner that you would expect. So I think this work has taught me to see beyond that, to see beyond the externals and the behaviors, and just really have that respect for the human and to facilitate their dignity.
Yes.
Yes. So I think that's what it has taught me. This work has also taught me that humans are very, very ingenious. I see Venezuelans who have come with nothing and have established themselves so beautifully with the passage of time.
Yes.
They are so creative in the businesses that they enter into the work that they do, how they separate themselves from the ordinary business person. I love it. And it really emphasizes that necessity is the mother of inventions. I've seen Venezuelans do work that the Trinidadian populace would probably not care to undertake. Yes. And do it well and do it at a level of excellence. Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who says, you know what, I want to get into social work? What would you tell them?
Okay, so I have this conversation fairly often.
Yes.
So social work and humanitarian work, in my mind, are very similar. By the theorists, according to the theorists in the two fields, they are not the same. Okay. I just somehow managed to bridge the gap. And I see that my training was invaluable in the humanitarian world. So if I would tell them to specify where exactly they want to work. Do you want to be a social worker or do you want to be a humanitarian worker? I think social work is a great first degree for anyone, no matter where you want to end up. It gives great transferable skills. But before you enter the profession, I would say to search and see why you want to enter the profession. Very often you find that people have savior complexes and they need to help people for themselves. So if that is your motivation, while I wouldn't say don't go into the profession, I would say to do some inner work first.
Yes.
So yes, that's part of the advice. The second bit of advice I typically give persons is that you have to be creative when you're done with your social work degree. Very often, I saw other of my colleagues who stuck to titles that had social worker, and they were complaining that there were not enough jobs for social workers. Fun fact, I've never really worked in a traditional social work job. So I've been creative in the jobs that I apply for.
Yes.
And I pretty much look at the roles and the responsibilities and determine whether I can do these with the training that I've had. And that is what dictates whether I apply or not. So just be open, be creative. Social work it doesn't pigeonhole you, which I love. So yes, I would say definitely go for it. But consider all of the things that I've mentioned.
Awesome. Chadel, thank you so much for sharing with us. I appreciate it. And all the best with everything. All the best with your studies and then the work after the studies.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. And for those of you who are watching, thank you. Until next time, stay inspired.